Hi there, folks. This is Adam from 8 Badge Gaming coming to you today with the final video in our Lurantis Garbodor series. Today we're going to be doing our deck review, where we're going to be reviewing the games that we've played, how we figured the matchup should play out, how it did play out, and how we enjoyed the deck overall. We're also going to recommend any changes that we might like to make based on our personal experience, and we'll take it from there. So let's go ahead and dive back into the deck itself. Now, if you remember, we're running a 2-2 split on the Garbodor line, and I think that's actually exactly where we want to be. We still want to have the 4 of Garbodors and the Trubbishes either way, but I like the 2-2 split because it gives you the ability to get a Garbotoxin back if your opponent manages to KO one. Say if they Guzma it up to the active, you can still then have the backup Garbodor there for a Garbotoxin against those ability-heavy decks. The Trash Valanche Garbodor came into surprisingly great use overall as well. I know it played very well for us against a Zoroark Gardevoir deck. It played well into Malinara and Krosma if we were able to actually get it out. And it would also play well into the Buzzwole Lycanroc, taking some easy one-shots against Buzzwolls or dealing hefty damage even at low item counts in our opponent's discard. Now, we also were able to use it to take out Duskmane Magnezone regardless of the psychic weakness, because they weren't able to one-shot it back due to the energy requirements in the discard off the actual Magnezone. Now, with the Lurantis itself, Solar Blade is actually a surprisingly strong attack. The healing of the 30 damage messes with your opponent's numbers quite easily. And when you're Solar Blading, say twice for example, you're healing 60 damage off his Pokemon, and when someone's trying to hit you for exact numbers, you're just disrupting their entire plan. When we're throwing a bodybuilding dumbbells onto Lurantis, we're looking at 250 HP for stage 1, and our opponents aren't effectively dealing with that. If you are able to take out their actively suited up Pokemon, and you've got a Garbotoxin live, then you're usually able to just shut your opponent down. You're able to knock out their active and all the suiting up that they've done with energy, with tools, etc. And then they have nothing, especially if you've been able to end them down low, if they got an early prize lead or anything like that, or they've purposely put themselves low, as we saw in some games. We were sitting there with an N, unwilling to use it, because it would put our opponent up cards in hand. We'd rather than be stuck as long as possible for us to just take advantage of that lack of cards, that lack of plays, with Solar Blade just chipping away, leading to 2 shots on pretty much every Pokemon. Now, I don't think we need to adjust the Pokemon counts in this deck in any way. We did get to use the Lele to some effectivity in some of the games. We were able to tutor up what we needed most of the time. We did have some bad prize setups occasionally, but overall the numbers were fine. Now, going through the matches itself, there were some cards that I didn't find terribly impressive. Now, that was mainly drawing Bridget's late, but that's typical to happen there. There's going to be times where you want a little bit more consistency on the draw without putting your opponent up cards. So if it were me, I would actually consider going for a 4 of Cynthia, 3 of N, but the N can be so good with the ability lock from Garbodor that we kind of want to keep the N counts there. The Sycamores weren't terribly great a lot of the time. We were afraid to discard the cards that we had. A lot of the cards we wanted to be able to actually keep in the deck, so the shuffle effect was there, would technically be better. So maybe we consider dropping a Sycamore for Cynthia. That's a consideration. Overall, the item counts themselves were still pretty fine, though. We want the 4 of Floatstone no matter what in a Garbotoxin deck if we can help it. The Choice Band has a 2 of. I don't think we want any more than that. The applicability of it isn't entirely high. Usually we're looking for the bodybuilding dumbbells instead. And the bodybuilding dumbbells, the extra 40 HP it gives to a stage 1, whether it's a Lurantis or a Garbodor, made a lot of difference in a lot of our games. It involved either having an extra shot on either one of our Pokemon. It involved us being able to survive through attacks we normally wouldn't be able to. For example, a bodybuilding dumbbells on a Lurantis means that we're going to survive a Meteor Tempest from a Duskmane Necrozma unless they have a choice band. And that is a huge difference. It means that we're not being able to be one-shot against decks like that. It also adds quite a bit with regards to, say, Gardevoirs, which we did face in the Zoroark Gardevoir matchup. It helps as well when we're looking at things like the various Malamar decks, like the Malamar Ultra Necrozma, which unfortunately the recording got messed up on. We did get a win there because of bodybuilding dumbbells, shutting our opponent down from actually being able to one-shot us as easily. Now, with the matchups overall, we went through Malamar Ultra Necrozma, where we were able to get a win. We were just looking at a two-shot war there. We were able to take advantage of bodybuilding dumbbells to keep ourselves from being one-shotted back, and then we were able to also mess with their Malamars. We were able to keep them off the board for the most part, and just keep our opponent's board state entirely under control. We then got paired up in the first recording that we ended up uploading was the Zoroark Gardevoir, and that is a bit of a unique matchup, and we were able to take it pretty consistently there. We were able to take it out without not a terrible large amount of trouble. Ability Lock works so great against that deck, where we're able to just Garbotoxin and shut down trades, shut down Secret Springs, shut down for Gallades Precognitions. We're able to shut down so much with Garbotoxin. And those types of decks are still usually only running at max 2 Field Blowers. So if we're able to end them down low, get a Garbotoxin live, they're just stuck. And they're stuck hard. Now, moving from there, we ended up getting paired up against Frogs. Now, that was the game that was relatively short because our opponent got stuck and conceded. I do think that our matchup is going to be great against Frogs, mainly because of Lurantis. We're hitting them for grass weakness. We have the ability lock. We're just shutting them down a lot. So when a Flower Supply can hit for 80 damage, you're hitting all the Froakies, all the Frogadiers for the most part, and one-shotting them for the ones that are being at least played in the Greninja Break deck. If we get up to Solar Blade capability, we're one-shotting Breaks, easy peasy. So while they're trying to take advantage of us trying to have to take 6 prizes while they're trying to focus on taking 3, shutting down the abilities means that we're not getting any Water Shurikens being thrown at our face. Shutting down their early Pokemon quickly and sufficiently with just one-shots as well, because a lot of them now are running the 70 HP Froakie, so it doesn't die to, say, 2 Buzzwole Jet Punches and things like that, or a Buzzwole with a Beast Energy Jet Punching the active one, etc. We're still taking a KO for a single energy attachment. Same thing goes with the Water Duplicus Frogadier. It's only 80 HP. We're going to be taking a one-shot on that as well with Flower Supply. So we're within our second turn basically just starting to chip away at our opponent's Pokemon overall. And that's just going to focus down them so much that they're not going to be able to keep up, really. Splash Energy is going to be their friend in that matchup, but I don't think it's going to be doing much for them overall. Then we moved on into another game in that same video against Malamar Necrozma. Now, unfortunately in that matchup, we weren't able to actually see how our deck was going to behave because we got Pokemon stuck and cards stuck. We had 0 draw supporters. They were able to just get a full setup going. We had a couple lucky top decks of an additional Pokemon to keep us from just straight up dying, but we did not have a good time with that matchup. They were able to tear us apart because we weren't able to effectively do anything whatsoever in that matchup. Now, that was our first loss in the first 4 actual games that we played, and I think if we had had an actual proper hand, at the very least we would have been able to make a game of it. I don't know if we've been able to win overall. I think we could have, particularly if we could get the Garbotoxin going. Shutting down abilities in the Malamar decks in general is extremely powerful. Being able to shut down the invasion ability from the from the Dawnwing, so it's not able to force itself back up into the active. But more importantly, shutting down the Psychic Recharge of the Malamar so they can't just get energy from the discard onto the Pokemon. It's such a strong ability, it's going to shut them down so much, and it's really going to help you overall. Now, after the Malamar Necrozma, we ended up facing off against Buzzwole Lycanroc. Now, this one was a particularly close game, but our opponent really just had everything they needed. They were able to tear us apart. At the very end, we got them down to 0 cards in hand. They had 2 energy on a Lycanroc, and that was their only potential attacker. They'd already used their GX. They needed to take 1 prize. We needed to go at least a turn without them top decking an energy, and they top decked an energy. So I still think it's a pretty close matchup there. I haven't played any additional games against Buzzwole Lycanroc since, so I'm not entirely sure how our matchup will be in, say, a 10 games, or 50 games, or 100 games. But at the very least, I was able to see that we had play against it, and that's going to be strong there alone. Finally, we ended up playing against the slow-playing Duskmane Magnezone, and I do apologize for the length of that video. There's not much that we could do to increase our opponent's pace of play, but that was a matchup that started off looking grim, and we were managing to actually make a recovery there, and we pulled back and we ended up winning the match overall. Duskmane Magnezone, being able to set up Garbotoxin, again, is going to be very applicable. Shutting down the magnetic recharge from our opponent's ability, or from our opponent's Magnezone there, so they can suit up their Duskmane, is really going to help us. And being able to, or rather, being able to two-shot the actual Duskmanes themselves will also help. Being able to survive the Meteor Tempest from a Duskmane with a Lurantis, if we've got a bodybuilding dumbbells on it and they don't have a choice band, also going to be good. We've already discussed that a fair bit there already, but I think our matchup against Duskmane is going to be fine. We do have just the early power ability. If we can get a couple of energy into the discard, our first attack with a Flower Supply on our Lurantis is going to get us suited up and ready to go. If we're able to get enough energy on our Lurantis, we can Chloroscythe for just a one-shot KO on our opponent's Duskmane. And overall, we just have play into them. They rely heavily on the Magnezone a good part of the time, but some lists now are running the Beast Rings to also allow for additional fuel ups once we get into the mid game itself. I would give this deck easily a B to a B+. We did get stuck a couple times. It wasn't fun to get stuck, I gotta say, but there's not much that we can do there. It happens. It's variance in the game. Overall, I would go back and play this deck again. I would recommend it to other people to play as well. It is just one of those Garbodor variants. Currently myself in paper, I've been playing the Order Pad Buzzwole Garbodor just because ability lock from the Garbodor is going to be so applicable right now, especially with all the Zoroarks running around, and being able to take Fighting Weakness with the Order Pad Buzzwole is great as well. I would recommend this deck for people to play. I do hope that if you do play it, you get the chance to enjoy it, that you don't get cards stuck like I did in that Malamar Necrozma matchup. But overall, I would go back and play this deck again. As always, we do greatly appreciate your viewership here at 8Badge Gaming. We do hope that you've gotten the chance to vote on our latest poll for what deck you'd actually like to see teched starting this coming week, and we do hope to hear from you, whether it's just feedback on our videos, whether you're giving us suggestions on what decks to play, or even if you just have any questions of why am I so bad at this game, or how you might be able to improve yourself as a player, what you might want to be able to try, or recommendations on deck building. Let us know. We're always happy to help. We're here to help grow our community, particularly locally, and we're really looking to just grow this game overall. With that said, thank you again for your viewership, and this is Adam with 8Badge Gaming signing off.